Welcome back, everybody, to another Tips for Mortgage live video series. I'm happy to be here with my cousin Jaden Bax, broker out of Crossfield, Alberta. Beautiful Crossfield. He's with Avenue Financial. I'm Mike Parkinson, Dominion Lending Centers here on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. I hope everybody's doing well. I had a really good Thanksgiving weekend. So we're going to continue our talk on what the heck is going on in this economy, in the world economy, in the financial world. I tell you, Jay, it is not easy to follow. It is, I don't know about you, but it's confusing as heck. Things change daily. Oh, this is going to happen for sure. Oh, no, that's not going to happen. Now this is going to happen. No, that's not going to happen. Or these numbers came in so strong. The economy is just so resilient. So it's, what you hear is it's just real interesting. What do you think?
Well, and that's the whole thing. So, what do you hear, and who do you listen to? Who do you trust, right? And so, even for us who've been, you've been in the industry 20 plus years. I'm 6'7". There's been a lot of a glut of information to go through, right? And so, yesterday I sat down with a friend of mine, a financial planner with Sun Life, great guy, and just talked a little bit about, because we've talked a lot about how the bond market, the fixed rate market is kind of based on the bond market, and talked a little bit about a little bit of a confusing topic. Why does this bond pricing affect the fixed interest rate market? And when it does, why is there that inverse relationship? So why is bond pricing lower, yield is higher, and interest rates go up?
I don't know. No, it can be confusing. Even I have to sit back sometimes and think about it and go, oh, okay, yeah, makes sense. So basically, let's take the US, right? So let's start right now with the US dollar, which honestly, in the last, I would say end of last week or into last week, it was really cranking up again, which as the
Yeah.
US dollar, like the US dollar runs the world. That's the denomination that countries use to buy things. So as the dollar increases compared to the other countries' currency, that means they have less buying power of their own currency, right? They have to buy things with US dollars. They have US debt they got to pay. So as the dollar goes up, it really hurts other countries, right? Because now they have to start selling way more of, let's say, Japanese yen just to get to that US money. So instead of doing that, they have a ton of US Treasury, long-term treasuries, right? And so they end up selling those, and then it floods the market. And if nobody wants to buy that, they're gonna have to say if I'm gonna buy a bunch of those, I'm like, no, this is really risky. I want a real high yield on this. Like I need something for the risk. So yields crank up. So that's how they can sell them, right? So and as that happens, then prices drop. And vice versa. So now that the US dollar has dropped again in the last few days, it's down. There's less selling of those long-term treasuries because there's less pressure on other countries, which means that the yields can come down and prices can go up. So that's kind of an inverse thing. So as yields drop, prices of those bonds go up, and as bond prices drop, then yields go up. So it's an inverse relation. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
explain. Yeah.
But it is interesting to see how that directly impacts our market, right? So, all we've been seeing kind of across the board for the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe even 3 months is price hikes, right? Everywhere we go, fixed rate pricing has been going up in a substantial way. And I got an email today. I don't know if you got this email, but one of our lenders had a price drop yesterday, from yesterday to today, where everybody was going up last week. So it's interesting to see how that, we're in Canada with a bond market that theoretically is independent from the American bond market, and
Yep.
it doesn't set the pricing on our fixed rates. But in reality, just like you said, every other economy in the world, it's all tied together, right?
Yep.
And so that dollar starts going down a titch, and we already see one lender trying to get out ahead of everybody else, pulling back a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think there's so many predictions, Jay. Like again, I'm just sticking with we're boots to the ground. You and I, we see what's going on. Different in BC here than in Alberta. Alberta's probably a little busier. Prices in housing have not really come down. I was just talking to an appraiser today, a friend of mine, and she said it's really funny. She said we're seeing price increases in condos because they're more affordable, so everybody's flocking to them. and they're seeing price decreases in the single family homes from say 400 to 900,000, and then the executive homes over a million and a million plus, they're seeing price increases. Like it's just, as you said, it's all over the map, but it depends who's buying, right? Like it's people, the people buying the luxury homes are people that have sold in the big cities and are moving here and have tons of cash, right? So that's the big difference. But it's just an interesting world, and where are interest rates going to be right now? They're high. I feel for people that are renewing right now. There's nowhere to hide. It's just coming up with a strategy, but they're predicting that I think they're going to pause, and then the predictions are is maybe holding rates higher for longer. But I don't know if I'm buying that. I really don't think I'm buying that. Something's going to break
Well,
close to that.
well, and
So,
what is longer, Mike? What is longer, right?
oh
So,
God, I don't know. Like
because longer could be February, longer could
totally.
be August of 2024. Maybe you think longer is 2025. I think we're both on that same page of longer is probably somewhere into the first half of 2024, where we start to see a little bit of relief. Um, but one of the interesting things is why would you even think that they would pause now, Mike, when we have such enormous strong jobs
Oh
data, three
man,
times more than what everybody was expecting, right?
that data is 100% accurate, Jay. You know that, like, it gets revised. I watch the U.S. the Fed stuff because that dictates the rest of the world basically. But their data is so BS. It's just manipulated. It's not right. It's estimated. It's just they revise it down all the time, and the narrative of the government and of the media as they grasp onto whatever's positive to keep this thing going, right? And let's talk a little bit about this. Flip off that a bit and talk about. Let's look at the economy. So before COVID, we were heading into a recession. That was before COVID, with interest rates lower. So you tell me, since COVID and all the stimulus and all the debt and everything out there, how, and with these high rates, even double what they were back then, how is this going to work out? That's what I keep coming back to people. As they said, the
Yeah,
math doesn't work. I don't know what the solution is, but there's no way that the economy, all the junk bonds that are coming up for renewal with all the derivatives, which derivatives are all kinds of corporations attached to it or whatever, pension funds that are chasing yields to try to make money just to get by. What's going to happen if that collapses? Because they can't even barely survive on these low rates, right? So they're
yeah.
coming up for renewal. So there's so many things behind the scenes that they don't talk about, that we're trying to say, just unpeel the onion. Things aren't as good as they say. We're definitely going to head into recession, in my opinion, or we're already there. It just takes time. The lag effect, quickly before we go, let's talk a little bit about the lag effect, which we've been talking about for a year now, 15 months, I
Yeah.
guess. Uh,
And we're into it now, right? Like
yeah,
we're
I mean, yeah,
into where that kind of 12 to 18 months when
right.
things start to hit, right?
And that's the lag effect of these higher rates, right? So that's what I was just talking about. When you have trillions and trillions of dollars, I think we mentioned this last time, if these rates stay high for another year, the US, just to service, what was it? It was crazy. Just to service their national debt is over $1 trillion. So just to service that money. And if it continued on, and the debt load goes up to 40 trillion or higher, then it explodes, right? Eventually there's going to be no money for anything. So it just doesn't work. So I'm not buying a lot of the BS. That's just how I am. That's my opinion. I think 2024 is going to be the year that things are going to be really interesting. I don't know what's going to happen to real estate. I just think rates are going to come down at some point. We just don't know when and how much. So I know we're pretty strong
Yeah.
on the same opinion there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the last thing from a rate perspective, that I just kind of wanted to touch on today, one of the interesting things we've seen over the last 6 weeks ish, maybe even more recently than that, is the tightening of the gap between
Right?
variable and the fixed rates, right?
Yep.
So one of the ways that fixed rates were really selling themselves for a little while there was that they were about at least kind of a 1% lower than the variable. So right now, lots of lenders are offering prime minus 0.9, which is about 6.3%. And that fix seemed to be hovering anywhere between 4.8 to 5.3. So you
Right.
were getting like a 1 to 1.5%
Yeah.
discount if you took the 5% fixed over the 5% variable, right? Um, and now with like a lot of the, and I'm talking uninsured, so anything kind of the cheapest rates on the market. Now we're seeing a lot of 4.84 on the 5-year fix, kind of in that area. So now you know you shrank down to about a half a point on
You
that
said 484, you mean
spread.
584, right?
Or excuse me, 5.84. Thanks, Mike. That 4.84 would be something
I'm
else,
like,
but
where's that? I want that.
yeah, that's so. Yeah, we're down to that 5.84. You shrank down to about half a point, and really what that's doing in real time economy is we're starting to see a huge uptick. I don't know about your book, my book right now, a huge uptick in people choosing variable or adjustable mortgages because they also believe that that we're going to go over this hump. Things are going to start going down in 2024. Always have the option of locking into fixed sometime later. And there's not a huge discount to go to fixed anyway. It's only a half point. They think that that's kind of beatable in the short term.
Yeah, and you got to look at the long term. If when rates come down, and again, we don't know if they're going way back to where they were or if they're going to hover around between 3 and 4. We just don't know these. There's too many variables out there. But we know we're gonna start to see some relief, and when they do come down, and if they drop substantially, people in a 5-year fixed at 5.84, you got to understand that you're going to have a pretty decent penalty if you ever wanted to break that. And let's say
Yeah,
get into something that was in the threes or 3.5. That's a big difference on a big mortgage, right? So these are things you want to make sure you ask your lender or touch base with us on, because we'll help you. People are still really, doing the shorter term fixed rates if they don't want to do a variable, like more kind of like a 2-year fixed, 3 max, but even the 3 is pushing it a bit. But there's something that Jay and I can talk to you about. So if you have you up for renewal or you're looking at buying a place, we're happy to talk strategy with you and discuss the pros and the cons of every product, right? That's the most
yeah,
important.
absolutely. Well, thanks for that, Mike, and we'll see everybody next week.
See you guys. Have a good one, Jay.